The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Monday, July 14th, suggest that John Finn Finnegan will struggle with Luna Nozawa's death, while Liam Spencer confronts a terrifying medical setback. Sheila Sharp will wish she had been able to assist Luna in accepting her second chance at life. Sheila was capable of doing so, but Luna's beach home chaos took precedence. Deacon Sharp was definitely not a fan of Luna and the devastation she created, but he understands how difficult this is for Sheila. According to BNB teasers, Deacon will continue to be Sheila's supporting spouse, providing her with all the comfort she needs. Finn may form a bond with Sheila as they both grieve for Luna. Finn didn't approve of Luna's horrible conduct, but he also recalls Luna as a cute child who looked up to her older cousin. Of course, Finn eventually discovered he was Luna's biological father, and he'll undoubtedly reflect on all the years he missed out on with her. Finn believes that if he had been in Luna's life from the beginning, things might not have ended so terribly. However, Lee appears to be harboring a huge secret that will have far-reaching consequences for several of the main actors on canvas. All clues lead to Luna's survival, therefore Lee will have to keep the news a secret and hide her tracks along the way. Over with Liam. It appears that he may have an unsettling medical setback in the future. Liam will need another operation as soon as possible, leaving Bill Spencer in a difficult waiting game while Grace Buckingham takes action in the OR. According to the bold and the beautiful teasers, Bill will receive some harsh tumor information in the coming episodes and will take matters into his own hands regarding Liam's care. So keep an eye out for all the twists and turns. The Bold and the Beautiful recap is officially out for Monday, July 14th, 2025. Fans should expect Liam Spencer's situation to change. Bill Spencer is slammed. In addition, John Finn Finnegan is dealing with difficult emotions in the aftermath of Luna Nozawa's death. Liam Spencer's condition. A nurse enters Liam's hospital room, while Hope Logan and Steffi Forrester Finnegan sit beside his bed. The nurse needs to check his vital signs. Hope asks the nurse if Liam can hear them. She encourages them to continue talking to Liam. Anything is possible. The nurse exits and Steffi assures Hope that Liam is aware of their presence. Steffi complains about how everything is Bill's fault. Bridget Forrester interrupts. Bridget asks Steffi and Hope whether they have told the kids anything. They have not. Grace Buckingham interrupts and inquires about Liam's condition. Grace insisted on examining Liam herself. Grace advises Hope and Steffi to depart for a while. They completely trust her with Liam. Read this. Discover what happened in the latest episode of BNB. Grace feels around Liam's face and head. Bridget is having a difficult time. Grace advises her to take a break, as she can manage it. After she goes, Grace begs Liam to live. Bill Spencer vs. Tridge. In the hospital hallway, Bill insists on seeing his son. Rich Forrester cannot fathom Bill's chutzpah. Bill refuses to make excuses and asks to visit his unconscious son. Bill hopes that losing Liam will not be his punishment. They continue to argue, and Taylor Hay begins to join in. Bill does not want Liam to be alone. Taylor claims the patient has Steffi and Hope. Bill refuses to be separated from his son and flees away. Ridge runs after him. Brooke Logan arrives after the males have left. Taylor informs Brooke that Luna shot Liam and Sheila Carter Sharp. Back to Ridge and Bill, they find themselves in an empty patient room arguing. Bill tries to escape, but Ridge will not let him go. Ridge scolds him and tells him to do the right thing for his son once in his life. Bill is emotional and has no idea how this could have happened. The publishing entrepreneur argues that Bill and Luna had an agreement or an arrangement. Unexpected miracle. Hope hugs her mother in the corridor, and Steffi embraces Taylor. Ridge and Bill join the group. Hope wants to know what Bill is doing in the hospital. Hope explodes at Bill as Steffi listens. Hope mistakenly reveals that Liam has a brain tumor. Bill and Ridge are astonished. Bill can't believe Liam and everyone else withheld everything from him. Hope and Bill engage in an emotional and heated conversation. Sheila Carter Sharp mourns. Deacon Sharp is in Sheila's hospital room. Sheila is attempting to process Luna's death. Finn claims that despite their best efforts, Bridget and Lee Finnegan were unable to save Luna. Sheila needs to know specifics. The doctor advises Sheila to focus on her own recuperation. Lee interrupts and requests to talk with Finn quietly. When the physicians leave, Deacon attempts to be there for Sheila. The waitress feels as if a piece of her has vanished. Deacon is pleased of Sheila for her role in saving Steffi. Read this, 3 must-see bold and beautiful moments from July 14th to 18th. John Finnegan's complex emotions. Lee leads her son into an empty hospital room. She wants him to be absolutely honest with her. The mother asks Finn how he truly feels about Luna's death. Finn claims it's complicated. Luna's life was consumed by unhappiness and trauma. At the same time, Luna was Finn's child. Of course he feels something, but she also attempted to murder Steffi. Finn feels nauseous at the thought of Liam and Hayes Forrester Finnegan being targeted. Lee says Luna is gone now. Don't let her interfere with your marriage. Deputy Chief Bradley Baker enters without knocking. According to the chief, Luna also pulled a gun on Ms. Dillon, Hayes' art instructor. He explains that if Luna lives, she would go to prison and never be released. Finn tells him that Luna has died. A few moments later, Finn interrupts everyone's argument with Bill in the hospital corridor. Liam responded to stimuli. Finn, Steffi, and Hope enter Liam's hospital room, where Grace is still scrutinizing him. Liam abruptly opens his eyes. Share your opinions in the comments area below. Remember to keep watching CBS or Paramount Plus to see what happens next. The bold and the beautiful spoilers have been released for Tuesday, July 15, 2025. In tomorrow's episode, Grace Buckingham will perform surgery on Liam Spencer. Meanwhile, Bill Spencer waits nervously to see what happens to his son. Continue reading and let's discuss what's coming up on the CBS soap drama. Liam Spencer wakes up. Let's start with Liam, who was shot and subsequently underwent emergency surgery. While all of this was going on, Liam had an incurable brain tumor. Liam realized he was on borrowed time and was determined to save Steffi Forrester Finnegan from Luna Nozawa. Liam did just that before shooting himself. Steffi and Hope Logan had prayed for Liam to awaken. Grace Buckingham's examination. Just when everyone was disputing with Bill about Liam and Luna, John Effin and Finnegan broke some incredible news. Liam is starting to respond to stimuli like light and sound. Soon later, everyone noticed Liam's eyes twitch open. Everyone was hazy at first, but Liam eventually saw the individuals around him in the hospital. Another surgery. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for tomorrow's episode state that Liam recently underwent emergency surgery. However, he will go through another one. This is most likely the dangerous treatment that Grace pushed so hard for. Grace definitely wants Liam to survive, but why is she pushing for the dangerous treatment? Is it because she is convinced that this is the only way for Liam to survive? Or is it something to do with all the unpleasant messages Grace was receiving on her phone? Bill Spencer waits. While Liam undergoes another surgery, Bill eagerly awaits the results. Now that Bill is aware of Liam's brain tumor, he will do whatever is necessary to help him recover. When Bill stated in the hospital corridor that Liam would not die, he very likely meant it. Furthermore, fans are aware that Bill will steal Liam's body from the hospital later this week, so things appear to be heating up. It was suspected that Lee Finnegan had staged Luna's death in order to try to fix her. However, with Finn's reaction to his mixed thoughts regarding Luna's death, it is no longer entirely obvious. Finn was never the same after Luna died. The trauma of losing her had ripped through his entire persona. He was no longer just a doctor, a husband, or a father. He was a guy lost in a sea of remorse and unresolved questions. His hands, which had been solid and confident in the trauma bay, suddenly trembled with sorrow. No matter how many times he convinced himself that he had done everything he couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that he had overlooked something. Luna had come to him for assistance, and now she was gone. He found himself recreating every moment of her last days, retracing discussions, reanalyzing test results, and focusing on the times she winced, breathed deeply, or became silent. No matter how many coworkers told him it wasn't his fault, Finn couldn't shake the weight on his chest. The hospital felt different now. Every hallway and corner had echoes of her presence. Luna's laughter had previously brightened the corridors, her cheerfulness a contrast to Finn's more serious manner. Now there was only silence. When he walked by, even the nurses appeared hesitant to speak. He understood grief had turned him into an outsider even among his closest buddies. His shifts were longer, not because he wanted to treat more people but because returning home was painful. Home meant facing the empty space where Luna's voice used to reverberate, the coffee mug she'd left by the sink, and the scarf that hung by the door. Hayes tried to contact him. So did Portia. So did Elizabeth. Each one gave a kind word, a sympathetic look, or a gentle prod toward therapy or time off. But Finn deflected them all. He'd convinced himself that immersing himself in work was his only alternative, that by saving lives he could compensate for the one he had lost. However, Liam's weak logic began to unravel when he collapsed unexpectedly at a regular checkup. It began quietly. Liam, never one to complain, had noticed occasional dizziness and physical tiredness. Finn had assumed it was stress or even a lingering infection. He requested basic tests but was not concerned, until Liam slumped in the exam room, eyes falling back and body crumpling to the ground in slow motion. That sound, the thump of his son's body striking the icy tile, shook Finn's bones. He cried for aid, instinct taking over, but his thoughts was jumbled. This was different. This was his son. Finn's hand shook as Liam was rushed into diagnostics and hooked up to monitors. Portia arrived quickly, gently pulling him away as she assumed control of Liam's care. "You can't treat your own child," she reminded him gently. It was a statement that every doctor knew, yet it still stung. Finn stood behind the glass, watching as a group of specialists surrounded his son. Every beep on the cardiac monitor felt like a verdict. He had no idea he was grasping the edge of the viewing window until Elizabeth stroked his arm and said, "You're bleeding." His knuckles were rough, claws cutting into skin. But he didn't care. As the hours went by, the diagnosis remained elusive. Is this a rare neurological response? A latent autoimmune flare-up? Toxin exposure? Every alternative was considered and discarded, with each inconclusive finding contributing to Finn's mental spiral. He became concerned that fate was punishing him. That losing Luna was merely the beginning. That Liam would also be gone. He finally let himself sit at Liam's bedside after they moved him to a more stable room. The youngster was unconscious, breathing steadily but heavily drugged. Finn stretched out and brushed his hair from his forehead. "You're going to be fine," he said, unsure whether he believed it. He didn't realize he was crying until a tear landed on Liam's hand. Meanwhile, Elizabeth sat nearby, allowing Finn space while keeping a watchful eye. She had seen grief distort people in awful ways before, but witnessing Finn, one of the toughest, most controlled men she knew, completely broken was heartbreaking. She didn't press him to speak, not yet. Instead, she provided presence, a kind of silent comfort that he wasn't alone, even when it felt like the world was collapsing. As examinations continued and doctors were sent from nearby hospitals, a creeping notion emerged. Liam's condition was not entirely unrelated to what Luna had gone through. It wasn't identical, but there were similarities. This shook Finn to the core. Was Luna's illness not an isolated tragedy? Had he missed the broader picture? If there was a relationship, whether genetic or environmental, Luna's death could be more than simply a wound. It could also be a warning. The weight of the realization almost overwhelmed him. He went over her files, reviewing every aspect of her treatment, symptoms, and dying hours. He spent nights at the hospital, sleeping upright in Liam's bedside, and days in the research lab, attempting to connect dots that others may have missed. Colleagues became apprehensive. He wasn't eating and scarcely slept. His skin became darker, his voice raspier, and his manner more frail with each passing hour. Then came the time of reckoning. Violet, his daughter from Hayden, came by with Elizabeth. She stood at the door to Liam's room clutching a sketch. When Finn saw her, he froze. Violet, so vibrant and lovely, reminded him of everything he still needed to strive for. "Will Liam wake up?" she asked quietly. Finn went on his knees, grabbed her in his arms and sobbed openly. That was the breaking moment. Finn eventually decided to step away, although briefly. He allowed Portia and others to take up the investigation into Liam's condition. He went home with Violet. He sat in the living room, holding her while she fell asleep on his lap, staring at the blank TV screen and thinking about Luna. He apologized quietly into the silence. "Sorry for not saving her. I apologize for not seeing what was coming. Apologies for not being the man he believed he was." However, grief, while absorbing, did not eradicate his intuition. Over the next few days, he and the medical team put together a breakthrough. There was an uncommon autoimmune abnormality caused by a precise combination of stress, genetic markers, and environmental triggers. It was obscure, under-researched, and hard to diagnose, but it fit. Liam reacted to the treatment strategy in just a few days. His vitals were stabilized. He eventually opened his eyes. Finn was asleep in his chair when it happened. Liam's drowsy voice rang out, and Elizabeth gently shook Finn up. He went to his son's side, gripping his hand and overcome with relief. Tears flowed down his cheeks as he muttered, "I've got you. I've got you, buddy." That moment, the first flash of recovery, felt like air returning to his lungs. However, Liam's recuperation was not entirely his own. Finn too needed to start his own. He began attending bereavement therapy, initially grudgingly, but eventually cheerfully. He allowed himself to talk about Luna, to remember her in a pleasant way rather than with sadness. He told anecdotes of her laughter, determination, and dreams. He also allowed Violet to talk about her. He went to Luna's grave and brought lilies. He remained there for hours, sometimes silent, sometimes speaking to the wind. Elizabeth remained close, albeit cautious. She noticed Finn's alterations. He stood taller again. He grinned slightly. He stretched for her hand without hesitation. Their friendship, which had previously been hampered by prior mistakes, grew stronger in the aftermath of bereavement. Not as a replacement for what they'd lost, but as a gentle reminder that healing could still occur. Liam's rehabilitation was steady, albeit slow. He would require physical treatment, supervision, and regular testing. But the worst was over. The boy who had previously been so quiet was suddenly joking again, asking questions about the hospital machines and mocking Violet for her cartoon interests. Finn watched everything like he was watching a miracle, because to him that is exactly what it was. Nonetheless, he knew the shadows would always linger. Luna's absence would never truly leave him, but he'd made a decision, to live not in the darkness of her death, but in the light of what she'd brought into his life. Strength, compassion, love. He promised to carry that with him no matter how difficult the days ahead would be. When he returned to the hospital for his first formal shift, scrubs immaculate, posture firm, and stethoscope in hand, his co-workers greeted him with respect rather than pity. Finn had endured what others could not. As a result, he had evolved into something more than just a doctor. He'd grown into a man shaped by grief, motivated by love, and resolved to keep fighting, for his children, his patients, and the memory of the lady who taught him the true meaning of resilience.